Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome back to Gems with Josh. I'm your host Josh, and man, can you believe it or not? We're already in week 4 of the NFL season. Man, it's been interesting these first 3 weeks, seeing the trends that's coming along, seeing the players that we thought would be great, and some of the players that we thought would be great, not so great, right? But again, we're in week 4 again. Like I said on the last EP, don't panic. You got to keep going, keep moving. But after this week, man, if certain guys aren't moving and doing the things that they're doing, you need to start looking at some trades, start looking at some guys who's getting a little bit more targets, getting a little bit more volume in their offenses and different things like that. Start making those moves if you got to, so you can become a league winner this year, all right? We're going to start off this EP.7 already, which is crazy. We're already at 7. It's crazy to me. But we're going to start with the waiver wire this week. And to be honest with you guys, man, the waiver wire this year in fantasy football is probably the worst in the history of football for me. I've been playing fantasy football for over 15 years, and I can't think of a year in which the waiver wire would be as bad as it is this year. It's pretty bad. But even then, though, right, if you haven't already, there's a couple names still out there that you may be able to go get to help you out. One of those guys, if you haven't already done it, or you had him as a handcuff to somebody else, Trey Benson, great one, right? Unfortunately, James Conner got hurt last week. He's going to be out for the season. If Trey Benson is somehow on your waiver wire, you got to go get him. He's going to be RB1 the rest of the season. Cardinals like to run that ball. They're also going to throw it to him a good bit. Trey Benson got to lock that one in. Another guy who's actually, haven't played this season, but I think he's going to be really good in lineups, Isaiah Likely. He's getting healthy. He had surgery in his foot. I keep hearing he's looking like he's going to be coming back soon. Really, really good offense. The Ravens have the #1 scoring offense in football right now. If you're able to get Isaiah Likely off of the waiver wire, put him on your bench. You never know what that might help you. Might help you later on in the season become a league winner. Going to have a really good offense, and Lamar definitely likes to throw to the tight end. QB this week, which is crazy on the waiver wire, Geno Smith. Right, I think before the season, we all thought, Ash and Genty would get in that offense and they'd be a running offense. But, man, the Las Vegas Raiders have been slinging that ball around. And Geno has thrown for over 300 yards last week. Another game earlier this season, he almost threw for 300, 3 touchdowns in last week's game. I think Geno in that offense is really going to be moving the ball all season. He's been turning the ball over, which can get a little shaky. But, hey, man, I like the fact that he's really slinging the ball around. If you're able to go get Geno Smith, put him on your bench, might be one of those guys that might be a sneaky gem this season. And another guy, man, who I like at tight end, we talked about him in some of our earlier EPs before the season started, Chiggy Okonkwo, right? Again, I told you guys, Cam Ward doesn't have a whole bunch of people to throw the ball to. This guy's an athlete, pretty fast, put him in the slot, working out of the tight end. He's really, really fast, really quick and athletic. Over the last few games, he's had over 5 targets in all those games. So if you're able to pick up Chiggy, maybe one of those guys you definitely want to put on your bench as well, might be able to use him later on. And last but not least, Trey Tucker from the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Another name out there we wouldn't think would be doing what he's doing. But, hey, over the last 2 games, he's had over 8 targets in both games. It looks like Geno Smith is really looking for him in that offense, and they're really using him in that offense. Definitely a guy you might want to think about picking up this week. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our quarterbacks that, I think will be pretty good for you this week as streamers. Again, we don't really go for the top guys. We usually go for those gems for you guys that you can stream this week that'll be really, really good for you. Maybe help your win your matchup this week. One of those guys, Geno Smith, guy we talked about on the waiver wire, going against the Bears. I really like Geno this week. Geno is going against the Bears. The Bears secondary is very shaky. A lot of injuries in that secondary. And their pass rush, to be honest, is right? I think that the Raiders are really going to move the ball this week. The Raiders' defense is also struggling as well. So I think the Bears are going to score a lot of points. So with the Bears scoring a lot of points, I think Geno Smith and that offense are going to throw the ball a lot to try to stay in that game. So, yeah, if you got Geno Smith in your league and you can pick him up if he's already on your team, would not be a bad streaming option this week. Another guy this week, right? Been struggling a little bit this season, but I like the matchup. Bo Nix going against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the big reason why I like it, honestly, man, he's at home. The Bengals have pretty much been average on defense this year. Carson Wentz looked really good against them last week with the Vikings. So Bo Nix, a little bit better offense. They run the ball, mixing the play action as well. I think Bo Nix at home this week against the Cincinnati Bengals is definitely one of those ones that you might want to lock in. And last but not least, for quarterbacks this week, I know y'all probably think I'm real crazy on this one, but hey, Tua at home. I don't know what it is about the Dolphins, but when they get back to Miami, they play so much better, right? Last week against Buffalo, Tua didn't look great. Threw a pick at the end. Pretty much, they lost the game. But within that game as well, he had a few touchdown passes. I think at home, he always turns it up. So Tua this week, going against who we got? They got going against the Jets. Excuse me. Tua this week going against the Jets. I think that's a matchup I really like. If you need somebody to stream this week, think about Tua going against the Jets, man. Probably going to look like he's probably going to have 2 to 3 touchdowns passing, and you never know what might happen. All right. So let's go on next to our running backs this week. All right, rookie Amarian Hampton finally showed us what a lot of people drafted him for last week. All right, and the thing that is even better for him, unfortunate for Najee, but good for Amarian, especially if you have him as a fantasy owner. Najee Harris got hurt last week, so Amarian Hampton is really going to get that full share load, and he's going against the Giants this week. Giants haven't been super good, against the run. But the thing I love for Amarian Hampton this week, last week he had 7 targets in the passing game. 7 targets is a lot for a running back. I think they're going to continue to keep doing that with him. He's going to be a third down back. He's going to be an every down back for them. I like Amarian Hampton a lot this week going against the Giants. Another guy I like this week, Breece Hall. I know the last 2 weeks he's been a little bit shaky, but I like the matchup against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been really bad against the run. You see last week going against James Cook. James Cook went absolutely bananas against him. I think Breece Hall, Monday Night Football, I think he is a good option for you to start this week. Breece Hall going against the Dolphins. I love the matchup. And last but not least, man, another guy we talked about on the waiver wire. If you haven't gotten to him already, Trey Benson. Love the matchup going against Seattle. I think he's going to be the bell cow for them. DeMarco will probably get a little bit of run behind him, but Trey Benson is pretty much going to be the main guy getting a lot of the goal line work. And one thing I loved about watching him last week was he got 4 targets in the passing game, even in relief duty. So him being, the full guy this week, I think the targets would be up a lot more in the passing game, and he's primarily going to get majority of the rushing attempts. I really like Trey Benson, Thursday Night Football, going against the Seahawks. All right. Wide receivers this week. Going back to that Chicago versus Raiders game, there's going to be a lot of offense in it. I like Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker in that game. I think both of them are going to get a ton of targets. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. If you got Jacoby Myers, you got Trey Tucker going against the Bears this week. The secondary is very shaky. Injuries going on. Pass rush, like I said, not great. I like Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker going on this week against the Bears. Another guy I love this week, George Pickens from the Cowboys going against Green Bay. He's going to be an absolute target monster. CD's going to be out the next 3 to 4 weeks. Jalen Tolbert, right? Kevontae Turpin is more of like a gadget guy. I think George Pickens is probably going to get over 10 targets this week. I think he's going to have a really big game against the Packers coming up. Another guy I love this week, Ricky Pearsall from the 49ers going against the Jaguars. All right, Ricky in the last 2 games has had 17 targets. 17. It's a lot of targets. Not sure if Brock Purdy's coming back this week. If he is, I like that. But even with Mac Jones in the offense, they've really been targeting him. I think that's a good matchup going against Jacksonville this week. Ricky Pearsall, lock him in. All right, let's move over to our tight ends this week. Jake Ferguson. Told y'all before the season, when Jake Ferguson is with Dak Prescott, he's a top 5 guy, and he's been showing it. All right, last week he had 21 fantasy points, right? I think it's going to be even more this week. Maybe not in points, but he's going to get a lot of targets because, again, CeeDee Lamb's out. You only got George Pickens out there. I think Dak is really going to target Jake Ferguson a lot going against Green Bay this week. I like Jake Ferguson a lot in that matchup. Another guy I like this week, Hunter Henry going against the Carolina Panthers. Last week, man, Hunter Henry had 11 targets in that offense. Drake May, young quarterback, they love tight ends. He's going to drop it off a lot. And honestly, man, Kyle Pitts had a good game against Carolina last week. You didn't really get a chance to really fully see it because, the Falcons got behind early, and I think they kind of gave up in the game a little bit. But I think Hunter Henry going against Carolina this week is a good bet. 11 targets last week. I think, probably won't see as many targets, but you'll see a lot of targets for him. See if he gets in the end zone. That'd be a great thing as well. But Hunter Henry this week, lock him in. So those are the guys that I like this week. Again, guys, stay patient, right? Week 4, right? Stay with your main guys. See what happens. Scan your trade targets in your league. All right, you might have to package a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. and something to go get somebody who's been a little bit more consistent. But again, don't panic. Don't panic, all right? So coming up to Thursday Night Football this week, you got the Seattle Seahawks going against the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's going to be a pretty good game, divisional game. 2 things I love in there. Betting this week on Prize Picks for our 6th play. Starting for Thursday Night Football this week. Chad Ryland and Jason Myers, both kickers from that game, 1.5 field goals. I'm up on both of those guys. Divisional game, going to be one of those games. I think the ball will be moved a good bit, but I think these 2 teams kind of struggle on offense just a tad. I think they'll be definitely settling for some field goals when they get in field goal range. So Chad Ryland, 1.5 field goals. Jason Myers, 1.5 field goals. I like both of those. All right, my man K9, Kenneth Walker III. Looked good last week. Didn't get a whole bunch of share in the game simply because they were killing the Saints. But even then, had 2 touchdowns last week and really was the main bat with Charbonnet out. I don't believe Charbonnet will be in this week either. They have him at 67.5 rush in receiving yards this week. I'm going to go up on that one again. I think he's going to get majority of that work this week. Definitely don't think Charbonnet will be playing. Even if Charbonnet's in, I think Kenneth Walker is really proving he's the RB1 in that offense. 67.5 rush receiving yards this week. I do like that a lot. An easy one, a layup this week. Sam Darnold, 0.5 pass touchdowns this week. I'm going to go over on that one as well. Sam Darnold's looked pretty good in that offense so far. He's really been looking for JSN, and he's been dropping it off a lot to Cooper Kupp. I think he will definitely throw for a touchdown in Thursday Night Football this week. Another guy who's been a big surprise in that Seattle offense, Torrey Horton. Guy was a beast at Colorado State. Surprised he dropped as much as he did in the draft, but you know how it goes. They have him at 25.5 receiving yards this week. I'm going up on that one. He's a rookie, but week by week, he's getting more and more involved in that offense. Last 2 games, he's had over 32 yards receiving, and he's had a touchdown in those games. 25.5 receiving yards this week. I'm going to go up on that one. I think Sam Darnold is going to find him a few times. He's been pretty explosive in that offense. I like him a lot. All right, and last but not least, man, they got Trey Benson at 81.5 rush receiving yards. I like that one this week simply because, like I said, I think Trey Benson is really going to take over in that offense. He's been really good in that run game. He's very explosive. He's one of those guys that he gets 3 yards, 4 yards, but then he can break for a 50-yarder. Right? And he's going to get a lot of targets in the passing game. Kyler really hasn't been throwing the ball much up the field. He's been dropping off a lot to Trey McBride. And I think Trey Benson is really going to add in with that. So 81.5 rush receiving yards this week for Trey Benson. I like that call a lot. So that's 6th play for Prize Picks, man. We're going to lock that one in for Thursday Night Football. I will upload that with this video here. Shout out to everybody showing love on the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not going to lie, last week we definitely cooked on the last EP. We hit on a lot of things last week. I appreciate everybody supporting us on that and showing love on the latest TikTok video we put out. Again, man, thank you so much for tuning in. Gems with Josh already on EP.7. It's crazy. Week 4. Good luck to you all. Hopefully we win these games. Hopefully we win our matchups. And definitely hopefully we win some money, man. Peace out. Y'all be safe.